My daughter shoved me into the lake, laughing as she shouted, "Cool off, old woman." As I struggled and choked on the water, her laughter echoed through the air. But when I pulled myself out of the lake, dripping and silent, I reached into my pocket, took out my phone, and showed her something. In an instant, her smile vanished. "If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from, or what time it is for you." Michelle's palm hit my chest like a switch. Cold filled my ears. Cedar Ridge Lake swallowed my name. I kicked once, twice, boots heavy with Illinois mud, throat burning as water clawed down the wrong pipe. When I broke the surface, the wind slapped me. Michelle was on the dock, arms loose, mouth crooked, like this was a prank between equals. "Cool off, old woman." My lungs dragged air like it was a duty. I pulled myself hand over hand, boards slick, shoulders shaking harder than I wanted her to see. She smiled until I got both knees up and reached for my phone. The old black case with the hairline crack across the corner. The smile died. "I'd quit while you're behind," I said. "Give me the phone," she said quick, a twitch in her jaw. That was a joke. "Batteries at 9%. I turned the screen so she could see the red sliver. "But that's enough. For what?" "To remember." She stepped in. I stood. My shirt clung and dripped. The lake made a halo on the dock around us. At 68, water feels colder, and time feels shorter. I let both show. "I always tap record when you get heated," I told her. "Habit. That's creepy." She laughed without sound. "Delete it." I slid the emergency room bill from my jacket pocket. Even soggy, it looked official. The numbers undisturbed by lake water. $3,000 sat there like a bruise. "This is last month," I said. "The fall on the ice. I told you about it." Michelle flicked her eyes toward the tree line, then back to the phone. "I told you not to do anything stupid with lawyers, Mom. You shoved me into the water after inviting me out here to talk about family. You made threats on the drive. You said, if I didn't help cover your loan, you'd make sure I never saw Tyler and Emma again." The recorder heard it. So did the trees. She moved again. I moved faster than she expected for my age. A half step back. Knees sure. I've worked home repairs and painted walls half my life. My balance has had worse enemies than a wet dock. "Touch me again," I said, steady. "And this video goes to the Chicago police." You gambled with my home," I said. "You already bet on what I wouldn't do." She looked over my shoulder at the lake. The wind had picked up little white teeth on the water. She blinked hard, reset her face, spread her hands like a negotiator on a show. "It got away from me," she said. "It's not just me. There are people. They don't mess around. I'm trying to fix it before what?" I asked. She swallowed. "Before Friday." "How much is it now?" She said it like a weather report. 200,000. My heart stuttered. The last figure I'd heard was 50,000. "Debt multiplies when it smells fear. You can refinance," she said quickly, seeing me do the math on my face. "Everyone says real estate's a pile of cash sitting under your mattress. It's dead money, Mom. I just need air." "You mean my roof?" I tucked the bill away. "You mean Tyler and Emma's spare bed. You mean the tools I bought with my back." She drew a breath through her teeth. "You don't understand the people behind this." "I understand you pushed me into a lake," I said. "And I understand you did it because you thought I'd cave faster if I was cold and off balance." She looked small for a second. Then I said the one thing I've never said to my daughter. "No." The word hung up there between us like a beam we both knew couldn't be moved without a permit. She flinched. Then she smiled again. But this time the smile had edges. "You always talk big until the kids are involved," she said. "You think David's strong enough to choose you over them." "David's a good father," I said. "He loves our grandchildren. He'll protect them," she said. "I know. That's why I started recording you." Her eyes cut to my phone again. She took a short step like a boxer, trying to find an angle. I lifted the phone to eye level and tapped the screen. The audio wave wobbled. Her own voice came back to her from 30 seconds ago, slurred by the lake's wind, but clean. "Cool off, old woman." Michelle's jaw clenched. "You can't keep that." "I can keep what the law allows me to keep," I said. "And I can keep my house." "You're 68, she said, trying another knife. "You shouldn't be alone in that place. You fall again. Nobody's there. My uncle's got a buyer who can close in a week. We clear my debt, and you take an apartment near us. You'll see the kids more." "You just threatened to keep them from me," I said. "Not threatened, warned." "You talk like the storm is something outside you," I said. "But you keep opening the door." The phone buzzed in my hand. 8% glowed red. I could feel Cedar Ridge air getting meaner as clouds stacked from the west. The day had that split personality look, bright on the shore where we stood, dark marching in across the water. I'm going home, I said. You're not, you're dramatic, she said, but softer. I'm resolved. She followed me down the dock like she might try something stupid. I kept my shoulders square and my eyes forward. At the gravel, I turned. There's still a rope you can grab, I said. We can sit with a lawyer at the Riverside Cafe and talk payment plans, credit counseling, police protection, whatever it takes. But if you lay a hand on me again, or if I get even a hint of you using Tyler and Emma like chips, you're not going to like what old looks like when it's angry and documented. She stared, lips pressed white. Delete it. Call me tonight when you're ready to talk like a daughter, I said. Not a collector, Mom. Tonight, I said. I left her on the dock, a shape fixed in my rear view as I climbed into the truck. The lake smell stuck to me, my clothes squished. The heater came in hot and mean, and the music station I always use for long drives found a Motown chorus that made the cab feel like a place where good decisions happen. On the road into town, I rolled my shoulder. Pain arrived late behind the adrenaline. The fall on the ice had taught me that pain and bills traveled together. That day, the ER had kept me under warm blankets and fluorescent lights like I was a machine that could be defrosted back into service. The printout with $3,000 at the bottom had looked almost polite about it. I held the phone in the dash cradle where I could keep watching the battery. 7%. The recording stored itself to the cloud. I have it set that way because I am not a fool. I always tap record when she's heated, I said out loud, trying the sentence on my tongue, not to justify, to remember, to be the kind of woman who chooses the next right thing. Even when the last wrong thing shares her blood. My house sat quiet when I pulled in, the maple throwing shade across the porch. Inside, I peeled off lake clothes, toweled the old bones, put on dry flannel. The kettle clicked and started to tick. The phone buzzed again and again, short little bursts like a trapped animal. 6%. I set it on the kitchen table next to the ER bill. The stack of mail, the pencil cup I've been refilling since the repair years. I poured tea and let my hands warm. The water spotted the paper with dime-sized moons. The phone lit. David, I answered on speaker. Hey, are you safe? His voice was small. Are you? Silence. I could hear traffic and a child's question in the background. Soft, then, shushed. David, I didn't know she'd take you there, he said. I thought it was coffee in town. I told her I'd meet you both later. When she came back without you, he cut himself off. Can you meet me at Riverside Cafe? Not now, tonight, without Michelle. I can, I said. You sound scared. I am, he said. It went up again. She hid that from me. I tried to talk her down, Barbara. I tried, but she's 16 different people, depending on who's on the phone. Then we pick one person to talk to, I said, and we let everyone else wait at the door. I'm sending you something, he said. Please keep your phone on. I will. The line clicked off. 5%. I set the mug down. The kettle hissed like it had an opinion. I walked the house once, the way you do when a storm is forecast. Checked the windows, checked the back door, checked the place where the frame sticks in winter. It felt like superstition and also like control. When I got back to the kitchen, the phone had another message from David. Not a voice, a text. I tapped it open. The photo tiles loaded slow like they knew. They took photos of the kids. Riverside Cafe ran warm and loud, all milk, steam, and clatter. I picked the corner table that looks at both doors. Habit, back against brick, line of sight on the counter. 7 o'clock rush. People in puffy coats, cheeks pink, talking about nothing that could break your house. David came in, holding a paper bag like it was a life jacket. No makeup, hair in a quick knot that said, I chose speed over pretty. He saw me and tried to smile. It made it halfway. You're soaked, he said, sliding into the chair. Then he saw my shirt was dry and shook his head. Right, sorry, it's all right. He looked over his shoulder twice in 5 seconds. Then he slid the bag across the table and put his hands in his lap so he wouldn't snatch it back. What's this? I asked. Proof, he said. I opened the bag. Inside, a battered spiral notebook, 2 envelopes with windows, a printout with a table of dates and amounts, and a phone I didn't recognize. Burner phone, he said. I bought it at the pharmacy for emergencies. Michelle doesn't know about it. I pulled the spiral first. Pages of days, grocery totals, gas, school lunch funds, and then bigger lines written harder. 50,000 circled in blue. Newer pages, 95,000, 150,000, 200,000. The numbers stepped up like a bad staircase. Next to them, shorter notes in his neat hand. Late, rolled interest bump. Why? Someone else's scrawl, drifted through like boot tracks. Don't worry. Next week, I got this. What am I looking at? I said, though I knew. 6 months of trying to plug a hole in a boat. He said, you smell the water before you see it. I set the spiral down and worked the envelopes. One was a bill from a company with a name that tried to sound like a smile. The other was thicker. No return address, a photocopy blur where there should have been a logo. Both were due Friday. Both used the kind of language that makes your stomach forget how to behave. The printout showed the schedule of payments and penalties. Every missed week sprouted new amounts. Every call doubled the heat. She told me it would be 50,000 and we'd be out in a month, he said. She said, everybody does bridge loans. Everybody doesn't call men who take school photos of children. I said, his face did that thing you see in church when someone tries not to cry. They didn't touch them. The security guy said the man was on public property. He said they can take photos of whatever they can see. He swallowed. Tyler thought it was funny that a stranger cared about his backpack. Emma wouldn't look at me all afternoon. I set the printout down. You told the school. They made a note and said they'd keep an eye out. They told me to call the police if I felt unsafe. He gave the tiniest laugh. I feel unsafe. The barista called a name. A bell chimed. I watched David breathe in time with the steam wand. I took the last thing out of the bag, the cheap phone. He thumbed it awake and pulled up messages. Photos of Tyler and Emma at pickup time, taken from across the street. The angle made the kids look smaller. A text under one. Friday, 4 p.m., or the story gets bigger. I made myself read it twice. Then I put the phone face down and let my hand rest flat on it, like you'd steady a piece of wood before you cut. Where's Michelle? I asked. She's working on it, he said. The word's sour. She's with her uncle. He thinks he knows a buyer for our house and your house both. He says we can reset. He handed me a blank power of attorney like he was passing salt. He can keep his salt. David glanced at the door again. He's going to push you to sell, he said. I told him it was your name, your choice. And he said names change every day. He's different around her. Talky, certain, like he found a script. He likes scripts when they tell him he doesn't have to change. A kid at the counter spilled cocoa. Everyone made the sounds you make when it's okay to laugh. It hit me. The gap between this room and my kitchen table where the kettle had hissed and a message made my hands shake. Did those photos come to your number or hers? I asked. Mine, he said. The burner got this. He flipped the little screen back over, scrolled. Another text, no name. Ask your mother-in-law if she's warm yet. So they like to play with their food. I pulled my own phone out. 62% now. Charged, backed up, locked. I set it next to the little one. I want you to send me everything, I said. Screenshots, dates, names, phone numbers. I'm making a tree. A tree. Every call, a branch, I said. Every demand, a twig. It looks messy until you see where the rot starts. I've done this with home repairs. You don't just replace shingles all over the place. You find the one nail that rusted first. David exhaled like someone had finally opened a window. Okay. Second, I said. You're taking photos of your bruises today. His eyes flicked away. They're not, David. His hands moved like birds, uncertain whether to fly. Then he tugged the sleeve of his sweater up slow. The inside of his forearm wore a yellowed crescent and a newer purple smear near the elbow. He turned his wrist a small oval on the heel of his palm, the shape a phone corner makes when someone grabs you too hard. Misha did the corner, he said, not on purpose. She was trying to take the phone. She didn't see. He stopped himself. The rest is from people who love deadlines. People nearby chatted about hockey. Someone's laugh rose, tiny and harmless. The world kept not knowing. We're going to do this right, I said. Riverside Cafe is good for coffee, not for police reports. After we're done here, we stop at the clinic. You get examined and we get pictures that don't live only on your camera. You tell them what's behind this. I'll tell them what happened at the lake. He shook his head, the reflex of someone who's been taught to keep family business inside the fence. If she finds out I said anything, she already knows you're afraid, I said. Let's give her something else to know. He stared into his cup. She wasn't always this, he said. She used to be the person who fixed the sink without being asked. I know, I said. She also pushed me into a lake. That was her trying to be big, he said, like he could bargain with memory. She's so scared, Barbara, fear doesn't get to choose who it hurts, I said. We do. He nodded like it cost him something. Okay, clinic police. What about the money? Even if we call every hotline and sell everything we own, 200,000 doesn't disappear by Friday. We don't try to outpay a hole, I said. We stop the digging. We talk to a lawyer who has seen this exact stage play 100 times. We freeze what we can freeze and shine light on what we can. And if your uncle shows up, we smile and ask him to bring his buyer and his documents to a notary's office with a camera. He hates cameras, David said, a ghost of humor passing through. Then he'll hate Friday. David pressed the heel of his hand to his eyes. When he dropped it, he looked 10 years older and 5 pounds lighter. Do you hate me for letting it get this far? He asked, so quiet I had to lean in. I hate what fear did to your voice, I said. I hate that my daughter made you a messenger to your own mother. I don't hate you. He nodded. He took out a folded paper from his coat. It was a picture Emma drew of a house with a big square window and a stick figure with a hammer. Nice, she says. This is you, David said. She thinks you can fix anything. I let the picture sit between us like a promise with crayons on it. We finished the coffee. We made our list on a napkin, then texted it to both phones because paper gets lost and wet and eaten by pockets. Clinic, police, lawyer. Copies of the photos sent to a new cloud folder with a dumb name no one would guess. I added one more. Call the school again and demand. A staffer walked the perimeter at pickup and take down plate numbers. We decided I would go to the clinic with him now and the station after, and he would take the kids home to my place for the night. I can cook, I said. You make pancakes at night, he said, almost smiling for real. They think that's illegal and therefore exciting. We pushed back chairs. I felt the room's warmth leave my back when I stood. People were still talking about nothing that could break your house. I liked them for it. Outside the evening had taken on that steel color the city gets before a snow. We walked to his car together. I checked behind us without being obvious. You're different tonight, he said as he unlocked. Not just mad, organized. Anger without a plan is gasoline, I said. We need sand. At the clinic, fluorescent lights and a woman with calm eyes. Forms, a private room, photos taken by someone whose hands didn't shake. Words on record. We left copies. David signed something that made me feel like a door had opened, even if a worse one waited behind it at the station. The desk sergeant looked tired in a way you can trust. We gave our story the short way. Lake, shove, recording, threats, photos, bruises, Friday. He wrote like he'd written it before. He gave us a card with a case number and said the words that both help and don't. Call if anything escalates. Everything is escalating, I said. That's why you called, he said. Not unkind. We'll put a patrol by your street for the next few nights. We drove separate back to my place. I beat him there. The maple threw a black net on the snow-dusted lawn. The porch light did its best. I stood on the steps and listened. The world had that empty held breath sound it gets after 9 p.m., before the last buses, when the good and bad options are few and loud. My phone buzzed. A text from David. 5 minutes out. Okay, I typed. I'll pull the skillet. I turned to go inside and stopped. At the curb, 2 houses down, a sedan idled, lights off, engine a low animal. It didn't move when I moved. The sedan stayed dark and humming. 2 houses down, driver a shadow that liked being a shadow. I didn't look long. Looking long tells them they matter. I unlocked my door, stepped into my house, and made the kind of noise that says the place belongs to me. Lights, kitchen drawer, skillet on the stove, water running. I texted David. Park in the alley. I'll meet you at the back gate. Okay. Bubbles, kids singing. We're close. I moved through my first 3 doors. Door 1. Phone. I opened the cloud app, checked the lake recording, timestamp, GPS ping, file size, auto backup green. I duplicated it to a second service with a dumber password, then airdropped a copy to the old laptop I keep for taxes and stubborn gadgets. I named the file like I never wanted anyone to find it. wrench_receipts_2019_final_final.xls. Then I set the laptop to sync to an external drive. If fear eats 1 copy, it chokes on 3. Door 2. Bank. I called the 800 number from the back of my debit card and asked to place an alert on large withdrawals and new accounts. Unusual activity, I said, and let the words walk around the room. They asked for a passphrase, and I chose Maple Hammer because it would remind me of home and work. They told me about the fraud department. a number I wrote on the back of a takeout menu and then put into my phone where I wouldn't lose it. Door 3. Lawyer. The woman who did our wills when Tom was still alive. She plays tennis badly and returns calls at awful hours. I left a message that said the kinds of words lawyers hear and don't forget: elder assault, coercion, extortion, safety of minors, notarized documents only. I said, meeting tomorrow morning, earliest you've got, and then we pay. Money wakes up even a bad tennis player. Headlights ghosted along the dining room wall and slid away. I checked the window. The sedan hadn't moved. I wrote down the plate. I wrote down the shape of a bumper sticker I couldn't read from here. I wrote down that my hands were steady. The back gate latch clicked, and I was there. Tyler came in first. Hat, 2 big cheeks, nuclear, singing half a word from the radio like it was still on. Emma followed with the patience of a small professor. David hugged them both in a quick inventory, weight and fingers, 10 toes. Okayond then hugged me like the porch would be judged by how fast I opened my arms. Inside, I said, quick, we did pancakes wrong, on purpose. At night, 2 big, maple syrup like a dare. The kids told me 4 things each about their day because 4 is a good number for keeping fear out of mouths. Tyler's 4 were about a snowman at recess with a pine cone grin. Emma's 4 were about a science experiment that made blue foam. I made 6 pancakes and ate half a one because my stomach had other plans. David kept checking the back door window. Is it still there? Yes, I said. He bit his lip. Do we call? I already filed, I said. They'll roll by when they roll by. If he wanted to be seen, he'd be in my driveway. He wants us to know he knows where we sleep. Did you tell Michelle we're here? He asked, guilty before he answered. I told her nothing, I said. You? He shook his head. She left her phone face down all evening, laughing with her uncle like they were planning a vacation. I took the kids and pretended I had to get milk. I nodded. Copies? I pointed to the bag on the counter. We put the clinic and station reports in the drawer by the fridge. The photos are in a shared folder, with your name and mine. I locked the lake videos 6 ways and twice on Sunday. Barbara, he said soft. Thank you. Pancakes help, I said. Go brush teeth. Pajamas. Then we read 1 chapter. Nothing with monsters. Tyler raised a hand. What about a monster that is secretly a nice guy? That's called a twist, I said. We did teeth, we did pajamas, we did 2 short chapters because they negotiated like lawyers. The sedan purred through both pages. I placed a chair under the back door knob because I'm from the generation that trusts wood more than locks. I slid the deadbolt. I laid out blankets on the couch for David, though he doesn't sleep well in unfamiliar rooms. And this house is a temple of my familiar dot. By 10 o'clock, the kids were out, breath sweet with syrup. By 10:30, the patrol rolled past slow and then circled like a dog making a bed. The sedan eased away like a decision and didn't come back. The quiet felt earned. Door 4, I said to David, back in the kitchen. School, he frowned. At night, we email, I said. We CC the principal, the district, and the PTA president with the loudest voice. We say there were men taking photos of students, and that we have a case number, and that we expect a staff member at the curb, at release, with a camera and a notepad. We say the word safety like it's their mortgage. She breathed out. I can do that. Door 5, I said. Uncle David's mouth tightened. He'll come with papers. We'll meet him at a notary, with a camera running, I said. Any transfer talk will be recorded. Any form will be photographed. If he balks, he can balk in public. Door 6, he tried to smile. Locks, I said. I flipped them while you read. I dropped my voice. Door 7, your room for the night. You take my bed. I'll take the chair. It's a good chair. He nodded, then hesitated. What about Michelle? He whispered. Door 8, I said. The kind we don't open if she shows up screaming. I was about to add a door 9 for luck when my phone buzzed. Short, then long, then a third buzz that means group text or worse. I looked at the screen. HOA chat lit up with 42 unread. That many opinions never saved a tree. I opened the app and saw the shape of my name before I saw the content, then a thumbnail, then another. Videos, compressed and eager and badly lit. David moved to my shoulder. What is it? I tapped the first one. A shaky dock, whined, lake, me. It looked like a teenager had filmed a town meeting. In the clip, you can see me stepping up onto the dock, wet and old and mad. You can hear my voice low and angry. But the beginning, the shove, the line cool off. Old woman was gone. The clip starts with me saying, touch me again, and then jump cut. This goes to the police. It looked like I'd come to pick a fight with my daughter at a pretty lake and was threatening her with a phone. Someone had added a caption, "Neighbor catches elderly mom trying to blackmail her own kid." Another video started even later, at the part where I said, "You gambled with my home." The title under that one, "Yikes, Mom lost it." My jaw went cold in a way the lake hadn't managed. Where did this come from? I said to nobody. The chat stacked with comments like donuts, sweet, empty, too many on a plate. Whoa, this street, right? Isn't that the lady who complains about lawn height? Call someone. This is why guns are bad. This is why we need more cameras. This is why we need fewer cameras. I scrolled, screenshots of me eyes half closed, mouth hard, a map pin dropped too close to my address. Someone mentioned they'd always feared I was unstable after Tom. David pressed his fingers to his mouth. Who had that angle? He whispered. I never saw anyone else up there. My brain started laying studs. Angle from the shore, not the dock. Zoom from a cheap phone. Elevation like they were on the little rise by the birches. I rewound to the end of my own recording. There's a tiny glint in one frame right after I say the police line. A flicker of sun on a lens. Then gone. It's edited, I said. Even though he knew, they cut the first 30 seconds to kill context. I leaned in. The audio had a wobble at the splice, a hiccup where lake and birds didn't line up badly. Who posted it? He asked. I tapped the account. No name, new profile, 2 posts, both the videos, joined today. The bio said truth teller in a way that means the opposite. I dropped the HOA chat and checked next door. Same videos, better captions, then a private message box. I didn't know I had blinked open with a note from Uncle Richard. That wasn't a note at all. It was a forwarded post. Concerned about elderly neighbor harassing adult daughter at Cedar Ridge. Family is discussing safety options. If anyone has footage from today that shows the whole truth, please share. He knew exactly what he was asking for, and exactly what he'd already done. David's face pulled tight. He's turning the street. He's turning the venue, I said. If we look like a problem, the buyer comes with a discount for troubled properties and he gets to play savior. I felt my pulse in my gums. I put the phone down, picked it up, put it down again. I opened my camera roll and watched the original one more time. All of it. The shove, the water, the dock, the threat, the part where I said no. The truth still existed. It just had competition. The doorbell rang. Not a pound, a polite thing like a service. David looked at me. Stay here, I said. If it's her, we don't open. If it's him, we still don't open. I walked to the door and stood to the side where old habits keep you alive. Who is it? I asked, loud enough for the camera above the porch to hear. A man's voice with church usher smile in it. Evening, Barbara. It's Richard. Just checking that everyone's safe. I saw some confusing things online and wanted to clarify. Behind his voice, faint and oily, a second voice I knew by blood. Michelle, trying to sound small. Mom, can we talk? Uncle Richard says we should talk calmly and delete some stuff so it doesn't get blown up. David stiffened behind me like a wire. I kept my hands still. I don't open doors to confusing things, I said. We can meet tomorrow at the notary on Lincoln. Paper and cameras, 10A.M. Richard's laugh was lighter than dust. Oh, I don't think we need all that formality. Family shouldn't be so legal. Richard, I said. Family made it legal. Silence. Then Michelle, breath misting against glass. Mom, please. People are saying stuff. Then stop giving them stuff to say. I said. She shifted. A whisper to her uncle. A whisper back. My phone buzzed on the hall table, like it had been waiting for its cue. A new message from a number I didn't know. No contact name, just a link and 6 words. We like the rough cut more. I let the new text blink at me like a dare. We like the rough cut more. Outside, Richard's smile waited on the porch like a trap you could compliment. Michelle's breath fogged at the edge of the glass. I didn't open. 10A.M. Lincoln Notary, I said through the door. Paper and cameras. Richard tried a softer key. You don't have to be stubborn, Barbara. People are watching. Why not make it simple? Simple is how you get robbed politely, I said. Good night. I watched their shapes blur and shrink through the pebbled glass. The sedan reappeared like a shuttle picking up cast. When the engine faded, I locked, deadbolted, slid the chair back under the knob, and went to the kitchen where David had both hands flat on the table like he could stop it from shaking. What now? He asked. Now we turn the room. I said, they want to win the edit. We win the ledger. I texted the unknown number. Which angle did you like? Dock or Birch's? I can pull the original typing dots. Then, a reply. Quick and cocky. Birch's, send via link. No attachments. Good. People who ask for links leave fingerprints. I wrote back. Cool. I'll get you a folder. Need a name for the request. Another beat. Use property folder. And then, a link appeared like a slick salesman's smile. Send files to CRL_upload with a friendly blue button and a bland promise about security. I didn't touch it. I screenshotted everything. URL request title. The little favicon that wasn't generic at all if you live around here. The stylized cedar cone logo used by Cedar Ridge Property Solutions. Richard's umbrella. I tasted copper. Richard, David whispered, seeing my face. He's the one pulling the strings. Let's prove it, I said. Door 9. Chain of custody. I dragged a dining chair to the counter and made an ugly little laptop, external drive, the old tax machine humming like a tired dog. I pulled up the lake recording, the real one. I checked the created time 3:42 p.m., the cloud backup log showing upload, beginning at 3:43. Completed at 3:47, with GPS points that put me on the dock like a pin in an anatomy chart. I exported a copy with an embedded timestamp, overlays so a stranger could see seconds climb without a single hiccup. I generated a checksum and saved it next to the file like a birth certificate. Explain like I'm 5, David said, eyes on the kid's bedroom door. This number, I said, pointing at the checksum, is a fingerprint for the file. If a single pixel changes, the number changes. My copy and the copy in the cloud match. Their rough cut doesn't. I scrubbed the fake clip again from the HOA thread. At 0 o'clock, there's a flutter and the wind sound. The waves hit a different cadence like someone restarted the lake. At 0:10, you can see a microfreeze in the reflection off the water surface. Bad hands, worse ethics. I captured those 4 seconds frame by frame and saved them to a folder called Birdseed. People who steal like breadcrumbs, we'll feed them our choice. The porch camera dinged once. A motion alert. I checked. Patrol car slow pass. I exhaled. The night accepted us for another hour. Post the full video, David asked. Let the streets see the shove. Not yet, I said. You don't throw your whole hand at a rumor mill. You give it to the people who count. Lawyer, police, principal, and one neighbor who hates being wrong. He blinked at me. The PTA president. Exactly. I forwarded the full time-stamped video with checksum file into the case, emailed the desk sergeant gave us, into the lawyer's night inbox, and into a brand new share link addressed only to the principal and the PTA loudmouth, whose signature includes 3 committees and 4 exclamation marks. Then I wrote a 12-word HOA post. Misinformation circulating. I've shared the full time-stamped video with police. No link, no fight, just a weight on the scale. Will that stop it? He asked. Gossip is a dog, I said. You don't reason with a dog. You put a leash on it and give the leash to someone it listens to. David breathed. Door 10. Bait, I said, tapping the CRL upload link Richard's shop had sent. They want originals. We give them something to chew. I spun up a brand new email under a name that would sound like any neighbor. Cedar_Ridge_recorder with nothing in it that points home. I created a folder and dropped in 5 files. The edited clips I'd downloaded from 8, my 4-second splice analysis, a short text file that said more if price right, and then a watermarked low-res version of the real video with a built-in frame-by-frame counter, and my own line across the bottom. Copy requester CRL_upload_10-07-225. Double quotes. If they repost this, we brand their forehead, I said. I clicked the blue button on the CRL request and sent the package. The confirmation screen flashed owner info for half a second. People never lock down the parts that are boring. I caught it in a screen grab. Owner, Cedar Ridge. Property Solutions, Richard Finch. Contact, richard@crlprop.com. I didn't smile. Not yet. The kitchen clock worked loud. The house breathed. I made coffee I didn't need. David went to the hall to listen to Tyler and Emma murmur in their sleep. The nicest weather the night had. At 11:18 p.m., the unknown number pinged again. Got it. Full race. I replied. 10 a.m., Lincoln Notary. Like I said, bring a release and a check. No dots. No answer. Good. Richard likes daylight when he holds the pen. Door 11. Neighbors. I chose one. Mr. Chen, 3 houses up, who bakes bread and keeps notes. He answers his door for no one after 9. but he checks his email if it dings. I wrote subject, safety and context. We had an incident at Cedar Ridge. An edited clip is circulating. I have shared the full time-stamped recording with police and the principal. Patrol will pass our street tonight. Please refrain from forwarding partial clips. Thank you, Barbara. I hit send and pictured him reading it in bed, frowning at anyone who used the word elderly like a diagnosis. If the street has an immune system, it runs through people like him. The patrol rolled by again. The sedan didn't return. Richard and Michelle somewhere were workshopping their next move with the reputation guy. I could feel the edges of it. A post by morning about compassion. A DM to a reporter. A knock from a buyer with a soft voice. We were ready for morning. But morning came early. At 6:07 a.m., my phone spit out 3 things at once. A voicemail transcription from my lawyer that said, "Come at 8, bring all devices." A school-wide email blast from the principal promising staff at pickup and a request for any footage, and a reply to my HOA note from Mr. Chen. Saw the videos last night and was worried. Thank you for sending to the police. P.S. A friend on Oak Lane sent me a doorbell clip from yesterday afternoon. I think it shows a man by the birches near the dock. Hard to tell. Plate is clear though. Sharing in separate email. I sat up straighter than a woman my age should at dawn. 30 seconds later, the separate email arrived. An MP4, a rectangle of winter sun and brown leaves, and the slender birch rise beside the lake. At 3:41 p.m., a compact SUV paused in the frame at the curb. The passenger door opened. A man stepped out in a camel coat and dark scarf. Phone up, posture of someone who calls, taking and cutting, clarifying. He pointed the phone toward the water, did the tiny elbow motion you do when you fix a zoom, then turned his face toward the doorbell just as a jogger went by, and he offered him his version of friendly. The plate was crisp, the state, the tag, the dealer, frame around it read, Cedar Ridge Property Solutions, because life gets easy when it's certain. David came into the kitchen in my oldest flannel, rubbing his eyes. What is it? I turned the laptop so he could see. We watched the man in the camel coat lift his phone, adjust his angle, and hold the shot steady, like he'd done it before. David didn't breathe. When the face turned to the camera, he put a hand to his mouth like it might run. Is that he started. It was Richard. Morning came with decisions like nails in a row. At 8 sharp, the lawyer Patricia poured coffee that tasted like bark and gathered our devices like a triage nurse. She wore the same blazer from the Wills years ago, only now it had the energy of someone who'd stopped apologizing for being good at paperwork. Short version, she said, clicking through folders. You have a recorded assault, time-stamped and backed up. You have clinic photos and a police report. You have third-party footage placing Richard at the birches during the filming of a selectively edited video that was then seeded into neighborhood forums to sway a future transaction. That's witness tampering's cousin. He'll call it concern, David said. He can call it pound cake, Patricia said. We're sending a litigation hold letter to Cedar Ridge Property Solutions, Richard, and to anyone he's coordinating with. They're instructed not to delete or alter any communications, footage, or documents. We'll copy the Chicago city attorney. She typed like she was mad at her keyboard. Next, a cease and desist for defamation and interference, naming the HOA posts verbatim. We'll also prep a petition for an ex parte harassment restraining order if he puts one more toe on your porch. Barbara, what about the money? David asked. 2 prongs, Patricia said. 1, talk to the county attorney's office about the threats to the kids and the photos at school. Extortion, intimidation. 2, call the actual lender of record. If this is an undertable syndicate, we don't negotiate with their text messages. We document. If there's a legal creditor, we get a workout plan. If it's illegal, we don't pay a nickel. David nodded like someone had finally drawn the map. At 10, Patricia said, you meet Richard at Lincoln Notary. Keep it in public, under a camera, with a notary who knows me. You say no sale, and send documents to counsel. If they present anything, do not sign. Photograph, email me on the spot. She slid a single sheet toward me. Script, use it when people try to make a scene. Scripts are scaffolding. The script was 14 words. All conversations about property will go through counsel. Email documents, no signatures today. I can do 14, I said. At 9:54 a.m., Lincoln Notary's bell jingled and let in Chicago air, thin and tinny. The shop smelled like paper and toner, and the particular hope that clings to fluorescent lighting. Richard arrived first. Camel coat, dark scarf, slick folder tucked under his arm like a hymn book. Michelle shuffled behind him, small and loud at the same time, as if guilt had gotten heavy and she'd decided to pretend it was swagger. They brought a man in a navy blazer, who radiated buyer. He had the smile of a person used to being told yes because he chose rooms where no one could afford no. Morning, Richard sang as if last night had been a bake sale. Barbara, dear David. His eyes did a quick inventory of my joints to see where he could wedge a crowbar called concern. It pained me to see confusion online. I'm here to simplify. The Notary James name tag. Steady eyes nodded to me like we'd already discussed the weather and decided to skip to the plot. Filming is on for all signings, he said, pointing to the ceiling camera. Standard now. Perfect, Richard said too brightly. We love transparency. He set the sleek folder on the counter and fanned out papers with the showmanship of a Sunday school raffle. A quitclaim deed, a durable power of attorney with alarming blanks, and a purchase agreement with lines already filled. Price, a number a buyer would call generous and I would call short. Let's keep family safe, he said. Get you into a nice apartment where someone checks on you. Free you from the worry of yard maintenance. His smile sharpened. We can resolve Michelle's situation with grace. Script, I said quietly to myself, then out loud to the room. All conversations about property will go through counsel. Email documents. No signatures today. Richard blinked. Barbara, be reasonable. Email, I said. No signatures today. Buyer Blazer stepped in, understood that you'll loop in counsel, of course. Meanwhile, we can lock terms. The market turns and we wouldn't want you to email, I said again. No signatures today. James's camera watched. The shop's printer made a bored sound. Richard dropped the smile and reached for a different mask. Barbara, we're worried about your capacity, he said. Words, sugar-dusted, and lethal. After Tom, you've been. This is a lot for a woman your age. People saw you screaming at the lake. Michelle added, Mom, please, this is spinning. Uncle Richard just wants it to stop. David stood closer to me so my shoulder could feel him shake and stop shaking. We have a police case number, he said evenly. We have the full video time-stamped. We have clinic documentation. We have a doorbell clip of you by the Birches filming while my children were photographed at school. Richard's chin moved the distance a coin rolls. I was on a walk. I took out my phone and tapped the clip. The frame froze on his face. Scarf neat, elbow cocked, phone up, timestamp, clear. James leaned in despite himself. Buyer Blazer flared his nostrils like new information smelled wrong. You're a real estate professional, I said. You have a fiduciary duty not to manipulate a market with false impressions. You posted edited footage to create the appearance of instability and urgency. That's not a walk. That's work. Richard's tone grew churchier. I posted nothing. Your company requested the property folder last night and asked for full resolution originals. I said, the upload receipt lists, Cedar Ridge Property Solutions and your email. We sent you watermarked analysis and a Loris copy for discovery. We'll bring the full race to the city attorney. For a moment, his eyes forgot to be kind. Then he exhaled and shifted to Plan C, public scene. He pivoted, voice up an octave, addressing the notary and the room like a matinee. We're only trying to keep children out of chaos, he said, projecting. David, honey, you told me she was unpredictable. I'm simply offering a safe legal path before things escalate. You know Michelle made mistakes. Let's be mature. A woman waiting behind us with a stack of passport forms looked up. Buyer Blazer shifted his weight. James's lips pressed thin. David's voice came out small and lethal. Don't honey me. Sign your name to an apology. Richard, on camera right now. Richard gave a smile so brittle it sounded like ice. I'll email counsel, he said, and gathered his papers with hands that weren't shaking at all. He left, coat smoothing the air behind him. Buyer Blazer murmured something bland about revisiting. After counsel loops in and followed, Michelle stayed, eyes searching me for proof that I'd forgive her if she stepped toward me. She opened her mouth and closed it. 10 words, daughter, I said. Make them honest. She swallowed. I don't know how to stop it. Start by telling me who they are, I said. She looked at the floor tile, then at the door, then at her hands. 2 names, she said finally, and gave them like confession. Viper and Marcus. Uncle Richard knows Viper. Marcus is the one who sends the school photos. Friday's real. Then we don't give them a Friday, I said. You come with me after pickup. We file the full report and the names. You tell the truth to a detective instead of to your uncle. She nodded. Ragged. Okay. Now go tell David you're sorry, I said. Not a performance, a sentence that costs. She walked to him. She said something low. He looked at her the way a person looks at a road that used to be safe. He nodded once. We left Dot at home. We ate silence for lunch and called 3 numbers. The city attorney's intake line, the county's family violence unit, the school. We sent Patricia every file and every name. She wrote back 1 line. Good. Keep your heads. I'll file at 1. At 2:35 p.m. I was early to the school. A security guard in a bright vest stood at the corner now, clipboard and camera. Principal on the curb, jaw set, parents clustered, eyes flicking to every unknown car like they'd learned something in 24 hours. David parked in the alley like the text said to do when your life turns tactical. He hugged his coat around him like an argument. I stood where Tyler could see me first. Michelle, for once, did what she was told. She stayed on the other side of the lot, hands visible, waiting to be useful. The bell rang. The small river of children poured, bright backpacks, boots, laughter that hadn't learned to be careful yet. Tyler didn't appear. Neither did Emma. We let the first wave pass. We let the second wave thin. Teachers shepherded. A whistle blew somewhere flat. The lot's chatter drifted. David's voice went tiny. Barbara. We walked past the door. The principal met us halfway, already reading something off the radio clipped to her hip. Her face had the look of a person rearranging words to make them less terrifying. Where are my kids? David said, not asking. The principal's eyes flicked to me, then back. They were signed out, she said carefully. At 2:22 p.m. by who? I said, though my bones already knew. The principal swallowed. The emergency contact on file. Richard Finch. David went hollow. No, I changed that last year. We have an old form on record, the principal said, voice breaking. I'm so sorry. We verified ID. He had a copy of a temporary authorization document. Forged, I said, heat behind my teeth. Where did he take them? The principal held up her hands like she could slow time. He left a note with the office that there was a family safety issue and he was taking them to a quiet location to de-escalate until a parent arrived. Which parent? I said. He didn't specify. David's phone buzzed in his hand, the sound of a floor giving way. A text from an unknown number. Same cadence as the others. 60 minutes. Be smart. No police. Then they come back. The text sat there like a detonator. 60 minutes. Be smart. No police. Then they come back. David's breath went thin. Michelle's face drained to ledger paper. I looked at the principal. You have whole cameras. Yes. Pull footage of Richard entering. Plate shots. Timestamps. Send to our case email and the desk sergeant we spoke to last night. I turned to David. We are not obeying kidnappers. He nodded once. A jerky hinge. Okay. I called the station. Escalation, I said. Unauthorized removal of 2 minors by a non-custodial relative using fraudulent documents. We have a plate and a time. Stay put. Officers en route, the sergeant said. Text me. The plate. I sent it. The principal hurried away. Hand to radio. The security guard already had the curb, cordoned with 1 orange cone like a tiny act of defiance. I set my phone timer to 60 and hit start. Door 12. The map. Richard's office. I asked. Cedar Ridge, 3rd floor, above the insurance place. David said. Quiet location. Michelle muttered, as if testing the words for where they'd hide. He also uses a model home. Staged. Oakwood Drive. He says buyers feel safe there. Address? She rattled it off. I fed it to the sergeant's text window. Any other purchase? I asked. His condo, David said. Harbor Point condos. He watches storms from there. Says they calm him. I sent that to Bones. I said to Michelle, who texted you last? The muscle. She swallowed. Viper? Call him, I said. Put it on speaker. Tell him you're complying. Ask where to bring what. Keep him talking. Michelle's thumb shook over the screen. She dialed. A voice came tight and smiling, the way a knife smiles. Michelle, you got religion yet? Yeah, Michelle said. Voice paper thin. I'm doing it. Where do you want me? Chuckles. You're not driving, champ. You're waiting like we said. You get cute. The story gets bigger. What story? Michelle said, too eager. School safety, Viper said. Bad mom, bad grandma. A pause, long enough to be a grin. By now, he hung up. 58-36. Okay, I said. We split tasks, not bodies. David, stay with the principal inside. If Richard calls, you record. Michelle, I'm coming, she said. You're coming. I agreed because you know his feet. She blinked. His feet. People walk to the places they already believe in, I said. You know which door he chooses when he's stressed. She closed her eyes like somebody had just drawn it for her. Not the office. Too many stairs. He complains about the elevator, not the condo. Parking is a pain at this hour. The model home. Easy, and he keeps the key under the fake rock because he thinks being obvious is clever. Then that's where he is, I said. Police said stay put, the principal said, back with a printout. But she slid it across. A still frame. Richard at the office door, 2:19 p.m., jacket buttoned. Tyler's hand in one of his. Emma's backpack strap looped through the other like a leash. Behind him, a man in a navy blazer. His buyer smiled dead now that no one needed it. Buyer blazer, I said. The principal set her jaw. We sent the last 20 minutes to your case file. Officers, inbound 5, las 5:02. I looked at David. If we go, you stay with the principal and send updates. The second you hear sirens, you tell the sergeant we're headed to Oakwood Drive. If Richard calls, stall him with soft words and let the recording run. I put my hand on Michelle's shoulder. If we get there first, we don't kick the door. We knock and talk and keep him talking until a cruiser noses the curb. What if he runs? She asked. Then he runs with what? I said. He wants them visible. He wants an audience. He won't want to be seen hustling kids into a trunk. David grabbed my sleeve. His grip had nails. Bring them home or burn down the door. Doors first, I said. Then fire. We drove hard. The city slid past in rectangles of winter, brick, glass, the stare of bare trees. I called Patricia in motion. Staged house, I said. Send a paralegal to the school to sit with David. Already dispatched, she said. Don't be a hero, Barbara. Heroes drown, I said. Witnesses build boats. 4718 Oakwood Drive was a grid of new builds pretending to be old. Cedar shakes trying on history. The model home had a tiny flag staked in the frozen lawn and a sign with posed people laughing about breakfast. Richard's SUV squatted in the short drive, lights off, nose pointed out like he preferred an exit more than a welcome. Don't park behind him, I said. Give the cruiser a pocket. We stopped a house away. The air tasted like cardboard. I could see shadows moving inside. A glide here, a small jump there, the particular jitter of kids told to be still. I rang the bell. Richard opened like he'd been waiting to improve my soul. Barbara, he said. Good. Let's all take the heat down. The living room beyond him looked like a magazine for people who don't bleed. White couch you'd never sit on in real life. Bowls with nothing in them. A rug so new it had creases from yesterday's truck. Tyler stood by the window, hands in his coat pockets like he'd been instructed not to touch. Emma sat on a chair that knew it would never be sat in. They were safe. The sight of safe put a bruise behind my ribs. Kids, Richard trilled. Your grandma came. See, everything is fine. Hi, Grandma, Tyler said, voice careful. We're going to go home, I said. Right now. Let's not be dramatic, Richard said. He gestured us in like a hostess. We're here so no one gets embarrassed in front of the school. I'm protecting your reputation. You can thank me without all the fuss. Michelle edged in sideways. Uncle you, she snapped softly. Be grateful. You made a mess. I'm the mop. I kept my hands open where he and the kids could see them. Richard, I said calm. The principal is looking for them. The police are on the way. You don't want them to find you with the wrong papers. What wrong papers? He held up a crisp sheet. Temporary authorization, notarized. I looked. The stamp was a crude circle printed from a computer. The notary name was a woman who retired last year. I know because she notarized Tom's last check and brought me a pie. The seals embossed didn't emboss. Fraud, I said. Richard rolled his eyes. Details. The point is, children are with a responsible adult. You are tired and easily confused. Michelle is poor at logistics. I'm the arc. Let's go, Tyler said, small and brave. Dad said, pancakes tonight. She, honey, Richard said, sweet as cough syrup. We're talking. Blue stutter touched the ceiling. Sirens not loud yet, but deciding to be. Richard's eyes ticked. Here's what happens, he said. Lower now. To me. I walk them to your car. You drive away. I keep the paperwork safe. Tonight we meet the buyer at my office. You sign pre-op. Tomorrow you sign sale. Everyone calms down. No photos surface. No ugly stories about Grandma drowning in her own rage. And Michelle's Friday becomes a manageable footnote. Michelle flinched. This is not a footnote. She didn't look at her. It will be, if you behave. I heard myself breathe. The timer in my pocket ticked like it had teeth. Kids, I said evenly, eyes on Richard. Shoes on. We are leaving. Tyler glanced at Emma. Emma looked at Richard. You're scaring them, Richard said, as if that were a sin only I could commit. Grandma, Emma's voice had a question in it that children shouldn't ever have to ask. Is the adult who smiles the one who lies? Shoes, I said. Now. They bent to their laces like the choice was a thing you do with your hands. Richard moved, small as a cat, to stand between them and the door. Don't, I said. His smile turned into a tool. Barbara, you'll feel foolish when you realize how much help I'm giving you. I kept them off the curb of a rumor. I kept your name. Sirens found the block. A cruiser nose floated past the window. Richard's shoulders made the smallest calculation I've ever seen. He stepped aside. Go, I said. And Tyler and Emma went. Little rockets shooting past my legs into the daylight, like it was oxygen. Michelle put her hand to her chest like a woman who just remembered her ribs. She knelt to them on the lawn. I'm sorry, she said to both, words that cost. Tyler let her hug him with the stiff dignity of a king forgiving a peasant. Emma climbed me with both arms and latched on like a barnacle. 2 officers moved in with the choreography of people who get judged for every motion. Everyone safe. One asked, We are, I said. He has fraudulent authorization papers and removed the children without parental consent. Richard brandished his flimsy circle. We all want safety, he sang. No one needs to make this ugly. Sir, step over here, the officer said. Lawyer, he said to me, as if that word made handcuffs optional. Counsel, I said, and nodded toward the fake seal. The second officer squatted to Emma's eye level. Hey, sweetie, whose car do you go in with after school? Dad or Grandma? Emma said. Good answer, the officer said, and looked at the first. The first officer's jaw said he was done with the songbook. He took the paper, looked at the windows, looked at the children, and radioed 3 sentences that made the air feel new. Keys, I said to Richard. Now, he hesitated, a first for him. Then he placed the model home key on the white console table between the bowls, with nothing in them. It made a soft sound like a small plan ending. Go home, he said to me, trying one last spell. Don't play with fire. We light what we have to, I said. We just do it in the open. We left. I didn't look back. The cruiser idled where I'd wanted it. The other officer followed us to make sure we were the kind of people who go where we say. We drove at the speed limit because you honor the ground, when it gives you back what you love. Back at my house, the maple threw a laced shadow over all of us. David ran out before I'd parked. He folded Tyler first, then Emma, then me, like he'd been holding his breath for a year. Michelle stood off to the side, hands empty, eyes full. She didn't reach for anyone. It was right that she didn't. Inside, pancakes again because ritual makes bones. The kids told me to brave things about the model home. The couch was too white. The bowls were stupid. We laughed at the bowls. Laughter felt like a stitch pulling a wound closed. The timer in my pocket hit 0 somewhere between second and third pancake. I shut it off. The house released a piece of tension I didn't know it was holding. My phone buzzed. A new message. Different number. Same taste of rot. Good save, Grandma. Let's make it a photo finish. Pay $200,000 by Friday noon. Or the school gets a package. Your era bill, your anger problem video, the kids' photos, and a concern letter. Public parents group. News tips.